Good morning. Welcome to worship with the community of First Unitarian Church of Omaha. I'm Reverend Shari Woodbury. A special welcome to visitors. This congregation is a community of all ages and abilities. It's a community with a rainbow of gender and sexual identities. It's a community of diverse cultural and class backgrounds. We draw from many sources of inspiration and share common liberal religious values. Whoever you may be, we welcome you to bring your whole self into this space. Visitors are invited to fill out a visitor form. If you're here in the pews, it's a yellow form in the hymnal racks. If you're online, you'll find a link to an online form below the service description on YouTube. This will give you a chance to get added to our email list if you like and learn more about what else is going on at First Unitarian that you might want to check out. And now I'd like to invite forward Mark Lesketoff for a special announcement.
I have good news. We have secured enough in donations, or I should say pledges, to the Feed a Family program to participate in the program. We have enough pledges to feed a family of one refugee for the next 6 months. So we're about $150 short of being able to feed a household of 2, and I think that would be a worthy goal. So anyone who would like to pledge that hasn't so far, you can come downstairs and talk to me at coffee hour. I've got pledge forms to fill out. And those of you who have pledged, you can submit your payments for January through the usual channels to church, but please designate it as for Feed a Family. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. It's wonderful we can have folks band together so that as a congregation we can come to the aid of a family through Restoring Dignity who has lost access to basic necessities like food due to the cuts that have come through the federal government. So wonderful to act on our value of generosity together in that way. I want to affirm that our church occupies the traditional treaty lands of the Omaha and Otoe-Missouri tribal nations and express our respect as well to the Northern Ponca, Winnebago, and Santee Sioux tribes. We invite everyone to support local causes, charities, and rights of Indigenous communities. Again, welcome to worship, and welcome back at the piano bench, Judy Thornton. this time, I invite forward Nellie Chenoweth to light the flaming chalice. Love your human being sweatshirt, Nellie. Will you join me in the chalice lighting words? Spark of the Spirit, cupped in earth's embrace, light of love, alive in all creation. As we kindle this flame, we rekindle our connection to the sacred web of life. Thou that hearest, listen. In the beginning is the cry, inarticulate, inchoate, essential, the primal cry of desire.
Much later comes the word, ordered, various, pattern on a dark glass.
Oh, how we must listen to hear the wanting in the word. Oh, listen to hear the meaning in the soul of what is said.
The first act of a prophet is to hear one's own first cry. In the silence, let us listen.
Desire is good, and longing is the first prayer.
Let us bless ourselves with knowing and bless each other with words that are true. And let us be glad.
I invite you to rise if that feels good in your body and joining in singing our opening hymn, number 131, Love. Oh, that's not right. Again, you know what it is. Each week, we practice our spiritual value of generosity as we take up a community offering. Half of undesignated gifts are donated to a local cause which resonates with Unitarian Universalist values. If you're online or prefer to use your smartphone, you can use the QR code or link provided. For the month of January, our Share the Plate partner is North Omaha Community Partnership, a 501c3 organization serving North Omaha since 2022. The partnership provides emergency goods and services to residents of North Omaha who are in crisis situations. Their mission is to rebuild, uplift, and empower the North Omaha community. You can learn more at northomahacp.org. And I also want to mention that during the music, you are welcome to come forward to place a stone in the bowl to represent a joy or a challenge in your life, the lives of your loved ones, or in our wider world.
When I lift my voice, let it be in song, a defiant note in the face of wrong. I won't stand alone, we'll stand side by side, 'cause we know that love is always justified. When they try to divide us, it will only unite us. I lift my voice. When I lift my voice, let it be for good. Let me care as much as I know I should. I won't stand alone, we'll stand side by side, 'cause we know that love is always justified. When they try to divide us, it will only unite us. I lift my voice. When they try to divide us, it will only unite us. I lift my voice.
Thank you for that, Judy. I invite Colin forward to lift up joys and concerns that members of our community have shared aloud. Oh, and it looks like we haven't received any today. I want to name one that I think is probably on the hearts of many here, which is the death of Renee Good in Minneapolis last week, and more broadly, the increasing violence and just wacky way that ICE is operating like a militarized force turned against our own people. Disturbing to many of us, and I'm going to address that more in the sermon, but I wanted to name it now. Will you join me in a centering song, number 1013 in the Teal hymnal, Open My Heart? We'll let Judy play through it once for us, and then we'll sing it through 3 times. Of this music, I invite you into a time of contemplation. You may want to check your posture, gently close your eyes, perhaps make your hands comfortable in your lap, whatever feels centering for you. After I share a common prayer, we will rest together in a time of shared silence, during which time you may offer your own silent prayer or perhaps your meditation for all beings to be filled with that love we just sang of. I'll end the silent time with the sound of the bell. First, these prayerful words adapted from Dan Schatz. Spirit of love and justice, we cry out in fear and grieving, in anger and determination. Love and justice, take hold. Remind us who we are. Lead us forward and guide us in your ways. When we are afraid, turn us toward each other so we may share comfort and strength in community. When we mourn, open our hearts yet wider to the sweetness as well as the sorrow in this world, and to compassion for all beings. When we are angry, remind us again and again of our ideals, keeping us true to their vision as we use the energy of that anger in constructive action. And love and justice, give us determination to hold together, to love humanity in spite of it all, to stay in the struggle when the times are hard, even as we rest and take turns too. Let us hold fast to the vision of the world we want, so that we may, day by day, bend the arc of the universe toward love and justice for all. Amen, and blessed be. A time for your own silent meditation or prayer. Our reading this morning comes from Howard Thurman, an American philosopher, theologian, and mystic of the last century. Thurman met with Mahatma Gandhi and served as a spiritual advisor to many civil rights leaders, including Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In the sanctuary, we're going to hear this selection in Dr. Thurman's own voice. For copyright reasons, we're not able to share that in the stream, so the stream will be muted just during the reading, and then you'll be able to hear again during the sermon. Words of Howard Thurman.
What do I want?
The beginning of a new year on the calendar offers the chance to give fresh thought to what you want. Burning bowl ceremonies to let go what you don't want to carry forward into the year past or to set intentions for the year to come. Our burning bowl service at church got canceled due to winter weather, but perhaps some of you did your own version at home. Or did you set any New Year's resolutions? Maybe some here have embraced the practice of choosing one word to live with for the year to help anchor you in what matters most to you right now. I believe there can be power in such practices because they help us articulate what we want. The Upanishads, one of the ancient scriptures of India, tell us, "You are what your deep, driving desire is. As your deep, driving desire is, so is your will. As your will is, so is your deed. As your deed is, so is your destiny." A resolution or word for reflection are small things, but big changes often begin very small. At this time of year in nature, tiny seeds such as those of the coneflower and great blue lobelia are resting in the dark, cold soil. However humble and hidden they may be, these tiny seeds are already destined to become vibrant wildflowers. Just so, our desires are the seeds of their own fulfillment. We simply need to prepare the soil and tend the plants faithfully to see our desires flower. Howard Thurman, in the same talk from which this morning's reading was taken, goes on to offer some encouragement. He says, if the conditions for growth and for development are met, then growth and development flow automatically. This is the kind of responsive, dynamic, living, throbbing universe that honors the mind and the spirit, that together can say one thing and be that. Thurman goes on, what is it that you want, really? If this can be clear to you, then all of the resources of life honor that which is for you worthy of your deep desire. It might be a little surprising to hear such a positive, practical take on the subject of how to get what you want. In a religious context, desire has often been suspect. Since Augustine, a 4th century theologian, considered one of the church fathers in Christianity, there have been Christians who see human beings as driven by sin and believe that only desire for God or for service is legitimate. 2 of Christianity's 7 deadly sins, lust and greed, are about excessive or misdirected desire. From another part of the globe, Buddhism gives us the concept of attachment. It cautions against becoming attached to anything we want in this world of impermanence, for we are sure to be thwarted in our desires sooner or later. If we don't want anything, we can't be disappointed. So the lofty goal of nirvana is the blowing out of all ego and desire, the sources of suffering. A view that might sound even more radical to our ears is that in this great swirling universe, we, emissaries of embodied consciousness, are God's very way of experiencing this physical reality. We are ourselves instruments or manifestations of spirit. From this view, God's own yearnings for a variety of experiences and fulfillment happens, at least in part, through us. In that sense, our desires to experience this life are holy desires. I wonder if any of those spiritual perspectives on desire resonate with you. I find something of value in each of these different ways of understanding desire. But let me suggest for the moment that we look upon desire in a very basic way, as the evolutionary energy that pushes life forward. Desire is power. Without our wanting, nothing would ever happen. We would have no experiences. We would not be living. We human beings experience a great variety of desires, some of them very basic. One evening, some years ago, after I had put my child to bed, she was about 4 years old at the time, I heard her calling to me through her bedroom door. I reminded her it was time to sleep, not time to play. "But Mommy, I want you," she said. I could hear the need in her voice. A few minutes in the rocker satisfied her deep desire for closeness and for the comfort of mother's love. Not all of our desires, of course, are as deep and wholesome as a child's need for love. You and I have the challenge of living in a time and place when we are bombarded with all sorts of appeals to our lesser desires. Heck, with a little help from Madison Avenue, Homo sapiens is easily shaped into Homo desidero, a creature driven not by wisdom, but by wanting. Through a barrage of advertising, something like 3,000 commercial messages a day we're exposed to, we have become an animal distinctive for the great variety and insatiability of our desires. Popular consumer culture is not the only force filtering and shaping our desires. We may also be influenced by our parents, our friends, our mentors. Sometimes it can be hard to distinguish between what they want for us or what we think we should want from what we ourselves actually want. That's why I found Howard Thurman's question so powerful. What do I want, really? Toward the end of my studies at a liberal arts college, I decided I would pursue graduate school. I loved sociology, and I wanted to go further with it. My academic advisor steered me toward the most prestigious graduate programs, assuring me that this would give me the best opportunities for my future. And this is how I came to be in Indiana, moving to Bloomington from where I lived in Iowa to attend a highly ranked sociology program that was known for the great research that its professors and its PhDs cranked out. Alas, I concluded too late, about halfway through the program, that this was not really preparing me to answer the calling of my heart. I loved sociology because it helped me understand social issues like persistent poverty and the limitations of our gender socialization and structural racism and what was that all about. I wanted to help do something about those kinds of issues. That was my deep, driving desire. I didn't want to spend decades furthering a narrow research agenda. I totally respect people who do that, but I wanted to use sociology to change the world. I had listened too quickly to my mentor's advice without sorting out whether it was true for me. I ended up leaving that doctoral program with a master's degree and spending a decade in the nonprofit sector. I vowed that the next time I needed to make a major life decision, I would get clearer on what was really driving me before I took a leap to fulfill that desire. Our understanding of our own deepest desires gets filtered not only through the well-intentioned ideas of those we love and respect, but also through the meta-messages of commercial culture. The message that fame, fortune, all sorts of stuff are the key to happiness. One of the hazards of living in an age of such whipped up desire as restlessness. Is anybody here perennially restless? I have experienced a lot of restlessness in my life, and I've come to think of restlessness as desire in search of an object. Have you ever found yourself craving something to snack on, but the chips didn't satisfy, the apple leaves you wanting more, even the chocolate disappoints? Nothing really seems to hit the spot. Or perhaps for you, it's a craving for some other kind of experience. Travel to exotic lands, adventures on roller coasters or zip lines, 5 years of online dating without a single long-term relationship to show for it. The sages would say, our search is misdirected. In modern parlance, we are looking for love in all the wrong places when we look for fulfillment on the surface of life. Not that there's anything inherently wrong with visiting New Zealand or meeting lots of new people, but persistent restlessness, dissatisfaction with life as it is, may actually be a sign that one has deeper desires that have not yet been recognized or cultivated. What is your deep, driving desire? What do you want, really? Spiritual teachers from many traditions testify from their own experience that the only thing that can ultimately satisfy us is huge, is bigger than we can really wrap our minds around, is not a thing at all. It is beingness, it is the Tao, it is the Great Mother, it is our true self. In the words of William Law, a Protestant theologian and writer of 18th century England, the soul is so infinite that nothing can ever satisfy it or give it any rest but the infinity that some call God. From this point of view, to fulfill that underlying desire to expand our sense of self beyond our own narrow identities, the wise ones advise we must weed out the lesser desires. Similarly, leaders in both business and nonprofit settings are coached during strategic planning to set forth not only their priorities, what they will achieve, what they want, but the things they will stop doing in order to redirect their resources toward their strategic priorities. What are you willing to give up to attain your true desires? The great Sufi poet Jalaluddin Rumi puts it more poetically, writing, 1,000 half-loves must be forsaken to take one whole heart home. Many new parents are familiar with these sacrifices of one love for another. New parents sometimes find their time for hobbies disappearing and friendships shifting, at least during those intense early years of baby and toddlerhood. After my daughter was born, I managed to continue working full-time and singing in a choir. She even graced the back cover of my choir's Lullabies album, one of our 2 mascot babies for that project. But a few years later, when I entered seminary, I discovered that there was no longer room in my life to keep singing in that group. It was the first time in my whole life I had not been part of a choir. Much as I loved it, it was one of those half-loves that had to be forsaken so that I could answer the calling to a new vocation, which maybe was actually the desire I originally had when I went into the sociology program. Just hadn't quite figured that out yet. I wonder if you have also at some time given your whole heart to a deep, driving desire. I suspect many of those here who may have carried on a spiritual discipline, from yoga or martial arts to prayer or meditation, have had a taste of this Such practices over time have a way of clearing away some of the clutter from our lives as it comes into focus, what's important to us. This can be a great relief, because when you're in a state of more unified desires, you're not pulled in a million directions by a bunch of little desires and confused and distracted by them. There comes clarity. There comes a falling away of the excess that clutters our consciousness. And when the weeds are cleared away, our wildflowers, the desires that are truest to us, can more fully flourish. Whatever traditions we draw from, spiritual practices offer us tools for dealing with desire. When we do Tai Chi or walk among the trees, my favorite practice, or do soul collage, we're better able to discern what our own deep desires are. And as we sink below the usual chatter on the surface of our minds in contemplation, we return to the roots of consciousness. This is especially helpful at times when we're not sure what it is that we desire. Those are times when we need to get quiet enough to hear the still, small voice within, giving plenty of time and room for this voice to arise. Let us pause briefly. In the silence, I invite you to consider which of your desires you most wish to cultivate in 2026, or perhaps what it is that helps you to discern that, to recognize your own native desires. May you be able to summon your will, that the seeds of your desire flower and become manifest in your life. Whatever that was coming to you, if it was clear. I wish for you all the support needed to make that become real in 2026. So we've touched on the passing pleasures of the senses and the perennial joy of which the great mystics speak. And we humans clearly have a wide range of desires. In between those two extremes, we have desires for rich relationships, for meaningful work, for personal growth. Here also is a category of desires which is important to many Unitarian Universalists, desires to more fully embody the power of liberating love in our individual lives and in our common life. The desire, in other words, to put love at the center. Here at the beginning of 2026, what is most on my mind and heart is, what do we want really as a nation? Yesterday, hundreds of people met up at 72nd and Dodge here in Omaha for a peaceful public witness to say the name of Renee Good and to call for an end to the escalation of violence and terror perpetrated by ICE in Minneapolis and many other places around our country. There were so many heartfelt signs and clever signs. That's one of my favorite parts of going to this type of event. You see all of the creativity and the care that people are expressing. Perhaps my favorite poster was the one that simply said, "This is not normal." What neighbors in Minneapolis are doing, organizing community care and mutual aid, packing food and giving each other rides and generally looking out for each other, that's normal. What ICE is doing, terrorizing ordinary people, is not normal. What the current administration in Washington is doing, turning certain cities into police states, perhaps building the case for martial law and even more undermining of democracy and consolidation of power, that is not normal. I don't know how many of you were outside yesterday. It was a pretty cold day. I had thick gloves. I had all my winter gear with me, but my fingers were soon chilled within 10 or 15 minutes of being out there. My fingers were very cold. And thankfully, there were people sharing and caring with each other at the event, much as people are doing in neighborhoods in Minneapolis. There were materials on hand for those who didn't have time to make a poster before they came. One person roamed up and down offering hot coffee to anyone who needed a hot beverage. Another person had hand warmers. I'd never tried these hand warmers before. I'd seen them like at homeless shelters and things like that, but you know, they're these little packets that you open them and they warm up once they're opened. And I tucked one inside each of my mittens, and these little packets that heat in some mysterious chemical way really worked, and soon my hands were feeling toasty again. Well, in my car as I was leaving, I took the hand warmers back out of my mittens, and I realized I felt like I'd been given not just hand warmers, but a heart warmer in that gathering. I don't know how much impact a gathering like this has. It's not the be-all and end-all of action to take, but I know that it makes people feel less alone. The people who came and stood on the street with our signs, and the many people who drove by on Dodge Street and 72nd Street and honked and waved and saw kindred spirits who will have their backs if and when we need that here in Omaha. And all of us who shared pictures and told our friends about that experience of communal spirit for those who weren't able to make it out to 72nd and Dodge, but who also share the same commitments to basic human dignity and democracy. It matters for that. We were all offered heart warmers, so that's not nothing. Amidst the coldness of a masked and militarized force set loose and emboldened inside our borders, this heartwarming is necessary. That is restoring normalcy. The experience of caring human community among complete strangers as well as friends, and being reminded that is normal and it is real, and we still have that. It's not the only kind of action that's needed, but it matters. What do we want, really? Some of the posters I saw yesterday emphasized what we do want. Due process. We want due process. Solidarity across all people. Continuing to speak up and use our voices. Showing as much courage against the powers and principalities as Jesus did in his day. Who would Jesus deport, as one poster said? Care and neighborliness We want that. Families kept intact. Liberty and truth. Truth, so basic, truth. Celebrating the rainbow of people that make up our communities. Behaving in ways that we want our children to emulate. Yes, that's what I want. That's what I intend to build and be part of as a citizen, as a decent human in 2026. Becca Good, the wife of Renee Good, who will now raise their son as a single parent, described her wife as a kind person. Becca wrote, Renee was a Christian who knew that all religions teach the same essential truth. We are here to love each other, care for each other, and keep each other safe and whole. For those of us looking for how to take effective action, Becca suggested that we can honor Renee Good's memory by living her values. And she described those values this way: rejecting hate and choosing compassion, turning away from fear and pursuing peace, refusing division and knowing we must come together to build a world where we all come home safe to the people we love. Yes, yes. Coming together to build a world where we all come home safe to the people we love. What do you want, really? As an individual and as a member of a wider community, what is your deep, driving desire? It is a powerful question, for as your deep, driving desire is, so is your will. And so will be your deeds. And from those deeds will flow your destiny. May your desires be clear and compelling, that your destiny ultimately be worthy of your life. So may it be. Amen. I invite you to rise for our closing hymn, number 146, Soon the Day. This one might not be quite so familiar, so Judy's going to play it through for us once, and then we'll sing both verses. As we go forth into the world, may we nurture our deepest desires. Let us discern which desires are really ours and which ones matter most. Let us carefully water the seeds of love and justice and weed around the plants of civic spirit and neighborly care. May we help those true desires to flower in our lives and in our world. Amen. Shalom, salam, and blessed be.